you don't need savings. At least according to Grant Cardone. I came across an article lately where Grant Cardone attacks Dave Ramsey for his stupid suggestion that people hold 3 months of savings for emergencies. Cardone says people save their money because Dave Ramsey said, save your money. No, what you need is cash flow forever. Because if you have cash flow, you don't need savings. Savings are spin. Cash flow can be used. Fair enough. Cash flow can be used. I'm Stephen Neely, certified financial planner with Fortress Capital Advisors, and in this video, we're going to discuss the wildly different takes on savings between Grant Cardone and Dave Ramsey. Certainly, neither one of them lacks confidence, and they both love to kind of make outlandish statements that, court controversy, but do tend to go viral, and this is definitely the case here with Grant Cardone. Now, we're going to talk about who I think is right as a certified financial planner, and then at the end of the video, we will get into the 4 most important factors that you should consider when you're deciding how much savings that you need, if you decide that you need any. And then I'm going to break down 3 different types of clients and show you how I would determine my recommendation of how much savings they need. So let's get started. So first of all, I'm sure you can already tell, I side with Ramsey on this one. Cardone's suggestion that you don't need savings is just completely insane, and it makes no sense on so many levels. I get it. Yes, you can use cash flow and savings is just sitting there, but guess what? Savings accounts actually pay something if you haven't noticed lately, right? You can get more than 5% in a savings account nowadays. And what's funny is that Cardone is a big real estate guy. And if he's being honest with himself, if you look around the country, especially in a lot of the most attractive areas to buy real estate, you're probably looking at a sub 5% net rental yield on a lot of different types, especially single family type housing. So, it's simply not true that savings are spin here because they do spit off cash flow. Second, and this is where it just blows my mind that it's coming from a real estate investor like Cardone, is that every single commercial real estate investor, like professional investor in the world, sets aside cash in something called reserves. You could never even get a project off the ground without having some type of plan for reserves in place. Because guess what? Everybody with any kind of sense knows that there's an expense that is going to happen that's beyond whatever your cash flow is. In real estate, that's going to be, suddenly I need a new roof, or I need new air conditioning units, or repave this road, whatever it is. And for individuals, you run into these situations all the time. If you have a car, it's always something that crops up, and car repairs these days can run into several $1,000s. Now, where it really starts to impact you is going to be emergency medical situations. It's nothing to get into a car accident and now suddenly you're stuck with $30,000 of bills or whatever, even if you have insurance. So I'm clearly on the side of Ramsey in this one, but now let's talk about how much emergency savings do you really need? If we look around online, you're going to find that most experts will tell you you need somewhere between 3 and 6 months of expenses in reserve for emergencies. I think that's a totally acceptable range, but it's quite a wide range if you think about it, because the difference between 3 and 6 months is doubling the amount of savings. So I want to give you guys a framework that you can use to think about how to solve this problem for yourselves. What should your top considerations be? I've got 4 up here. These come in no particular order, although I would argue number 4 is pretty important. And I'm going to give you some specific examples why here in a little bit. Number 1, your psychological disposition. Are you emotionally swayed by the news? Are you highly risk averse? I have a lot of retiree clients. They have a lot of time on their hands and they watch a lot of news. And if you've ever watched the news, you know how emotionally charged it is. This keeps them on edge, and because of that, they tend to want to make a lot of kind of drastic moves in their portfolios. And I want to help them avoid making those types of mistakes. So my point here is, even if you're not retired, if you are highly risk averse and you find yourself making big investment decisions based off the news, which, by the way, if that's the case, you should stop doing that. But easier said than done. So if that is the case, all else equal, you're probably going to want to have closer to 6 months instead of 3 months, because it acts as a safety blanket for you. And that's how I use it for my clients who are risk averse. I can tell them, hey, you've got 6 months of expenses sitting there in reserve. You don't have to worry about this. And usually we also have other types of income coming off, so you're going to be fine. Factor number 2, income stability. Are you a regular W-2, steady income, salary type employee where your regular salary covers all of your monthly expenses? Or do you own your own business? Or are you a salesperson or something like that where your income can vary dramatically from month to month? Maybe it's because of seasonality or just, some sales jobs are really like that. If you're the latter, you really need to have more emergency savings. And this is kind of common sense, right? If you go from $10,000 of income in 1 month to $1,000 the next month, you might even need more than 6 months of savings if it varies that dramatically. If, on the other hand, you're a W-2 employee, then probably you need less in savings once you consider the other factors that I'm talking about. Factor number 3, do you have multiple sources of income? And this is Cardone's point, kind of. It does make sense. If you have a lot of other sources of income coming in, if you have pensions and annuities, portfolio income, and rentals that consistently pay you, and you're getting income in excess of what you need every month, then all else equal, you probably don't need to have as much savings on hand because you can probably weather some type of storm. Number 4, account type and the size of your non-emergency savings accounts. And what I mean by this is savings accounts that are beyond your checking account, wherever your savings is, okay? Are those in 401k plans, or are they in a regular brokerage or savings account that is unencumbered? Meaning there's no penalty for tapping that. Whereas in a 401k, if you're under 59 and a half, you have to pay a 10% penalty on top of taxes if you take a withdrawal. So it's going to be a big difference if you have $1 million in a brokerage account versus $1 million in a tax-deferred IRA account. So now let's move on to some examples, and I'll show you guys exactly what I would recommend to a client if they were in a similar situation, as far as here's how much savings I would recommend you have and why. So our first example, we've got a young single individual, 30 years old. The only savings this person has is in checking and their 401k. They're not risk averse and they don't have any other types of income. Knowing nothing else about this person, the advice I would give is get the match if there's a match. So for example, if your company matches the first 6%, I would definitely do everything I can to put that 6% in, because you're basically earning 100% on whatever that is. If you put $1,000 in, you're going to get $1,000. It's hard to get that kind of crank on your money doing any other type of investment. If you have the ability to put more into your account than just the match, this is where I'm going to tell you, you probably should put about 6 months of savings into an emergency account because you don't have anything else out there. You don't want to have to tap your 401k in an emergency. First of all, you might not even be able to. Not every 401k allows you to take a loan, and even if you could take a loan, the max is $50,000. Likewise, not every 401k even allows you to take a hardship withdrawal, and there are limitations on those as well. So that goes back to my point earlier about saying, is all of your savings in an account that's unencumbered or an account that's encumbered, like a retirement plan? Because that is going to make a big difference. So this person, that's why I would say they need 6 months of savings. Now, Once you've got that, that gives us plenty of latitude to put together some type of strategy. If you're a retirement planner, your dream is to have a client come to you that has tax deferred accounts and tax free accounts like Roths, and then they have regular brokerage, and then they have something like a health savings account. And that allows you maximum optionality, and we can come up with all kinds of different strategies based on different situations to really maximize your financial plan. And so if you are my client, once you built that 6 months of savings, then we're going to start strategizing on where does it best go next. Example client number 2. So here's a couple, they're high earners, they're in their mid 50s, getting close to retirement. They have a brokerage account with $1.5 million in it. They've got tax deferred retirement accounts with a total of $2 million. Got a couple rentals that are kicking off $25,000 net in total per year. And then they've got $45,000 a year in portfolio income from that brokerage account. And they're not highly risk averse. So this is a couple that I would say is the perfect example of somebody that only having 3 months of savings is completely fine. First of all, you see they've got outside sources of income. You've got $70,000 of extra income coming in per year that's beyond what they need. Number 2, they've got $1.5 million in an unencumbered brokerage account. Yes, of course, you don't want to have to tap that, but it happens. And if you were my client and you came to me and you said, hey, I need $100,000 from this account, it's not going to be that hard for me to get it for you. Usually you're going to be able to find something where the tax burden of selling it isn't that high, especially in a diversified portfolio. So there's always a chance we'll avoid having big tax consequences. On top of that, there's no penalty from taking from your brokerage account, which is very different from a retirement account, which is what we're going to discuss next. So now I'm looking at a retiree. This person has a $2 million portfolio, but it's all in a tax-deferred IRA account. And what that means is that everything he pulls from that account is going to be taxable. Now, this person is over the age of 59 and a half, so there's not a penalty, but it's not a good situation if you have to pull $100,000 because you're going to have to pay taxes on that. Now, this person has Social Security income and a pension, but they need to supplement their income with portfolio income. So that means I'm giving them income from their retirement account already, and all of that is taxed. And let's just say this person is relatively risk averse. Well, in this situation, I might even suggest having more than just 6 months of savings on hand. And there's a couple of reasons for this. I mean, number one, they're highly risk averse. So I want to make sure that they don't make any bad decisions investment-wise. Number 2, I don't want them to come to me and need a really large withdrawal that's going to jack up their taxable income. A big reason for this is that if you're retired and you're on Medicare, you could jack up your Medicare premiums by thousands of dollars a year by having extra income. So if we go and take another $100,000 because of an emergency, now it's going to cost them even more than that in excess Medicare premiums. And you want to avoid that situation. All right, I hope you found that helpful. I make videos on retirement and investing every week. So if you like that, hit subscribe and you'll be able to get my next one. Take care.